Welcome to Business Analytics course. This is Dr. Aruna, Associate Professor from MLR Institute of Technology. In today's session, we are going to explore about statistical methods for summarizing data. So in today's session, we are going to explore the concept of data summarization, objectives, methods. In methods, we are having tabular summarization, diagrammatic and graphical summarization, numerical summarization, and statistical summaries. And last, we are going to discuss about applications of data summarization in business. Now, moving forward, let's start with the concept of data summarization. Now, data summarization refers to systematic process of condensing, means reducing, organizing, and presenting the raw data into a meaningful form so that the essential features of the data can be easily understood. Because the reason is, as the raw data we are getting nowadays is often bulky and it is unorganized and difficult to interpret, summarization helps to convert this data into useful information for analysis purpose and also for decision making. Now, once we are clear with this concept, let us move ahead with the objectives of data summarization. Now, what are the reasons, underlying reasons for this data summarization? Means why we generally summarize the data. The first and the foremost point is to reduce the complexity of the data. And the second point is to present data clearly and systematically. And the third one, or the most essential part, is we try to use or we summarize the data to identify the patterns, trends, and also the relationship between two or more variables or groups. And the last one, we also use this summarized data for supporting the analysis part, for comparison purpose, and also for decision making purpose. So these are the objectives of summarization of data or data summarization. Now let's move forward for different methods. In what way we can summarize the data? So there are various methods. One is tabular form, and we have seen summaries, report, like that we are having so many things. In that also we are going to explore different varieties. The first of the foremost one is tabular summarization. Means the name itself is signifying it, the data will be arranged in the form of rows and columns. So tabular summarization involves arranging the data into rows and columns so that the data can be presented systematically. Now in this we have simple frequency table. Simple frequency table means how the variables or how each value or class occurs in the data set that we can know. Now, if you look at the example, we can have a clear idea. That is, the number of customers purchasing different quantities of product, or number of customers going for a particular movie. Like that, we can have the data. So that comes under simple frequency table. Grouped frequency table, where the data is grouped into different class intervals when the data set is very large. So we can have, for example, we have the students who are ranging from 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, and below 60 also. So for that also we can arrange the data into group class intervals, or that is the range, and then we can sort the data or we can arrange the data. So that comes under grouped frequency table. Now, cross-tabulation. Cross-tabulation involves the identifying the relationship or showing the relationship between two or more variables. Say, for example, sales volume, if we want to know region-wise and also product-wise category or product category-wise, then we can use cross-tabulation. So, what are the advantages of this tabular presentation? Of course, since the data is presented in the form of rows and columns, it is systematic and precise. It also helps in comparison, and it is also suitable for large data sets. So these are the three advantages when we use the data in a tabular presentation. So let us see the next method, that is diagrammatic and graphical summarization. So Sometimes it is always precise, or it is always ideal to have the data in a instead of tabular form. It is always ideal to have it in the form of a diagram, maybe in the form of charts, graphs, something like that. So here in graphical methods, we would be using visual tools for quick comparison or comprehension, whatever it may be. So here we have different types like bar diagrams. So bar diagrams are generally useful to compare discrete or categorical data. And coming to pie charts. So when the data is shown in the form of percentages, or we are showing the entire data in the form of percentages, we generally go for pie charts. Say for example, a group of students are there, and for example, there are 30 girl students and 70 boy students. Now if we, out of 100 students, if there are 30 are girls and 70 are boys, so we simply call them as 30% is girls and 70% is boys. We can use that data to draw a pie chart. Next, line graphs. So line graphs are generally used to show trends over time, usually the time series data, say from year to year, or for every 2 years or 5 years. For that purpose, we generally go with line graphs. Histograms. The fourth one, histograms, which is used for representing frequency distribution of continuous data. So whenever we have continuous data, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, like that, we generally go with histograms. Now, the last one is ogives. Ogives means here again we have cumulative frequency curves. Generally, we use this type of ogives to determine medians, quartiles, percentiles. So, in this case, we would be using ogives. Now, what are the advantages or benefits do we have while using a graphical presentation? Of course, when compared to table, graph gives the clear picturization. So, it is easy to understand. Next, it is attractive and effective, and also it highlights the trends and variations. So all these three are the advantages of graphical presentation. Let's move ahead with the third variety, that is numerical summarization. We often call it as descriptive statistics. So in numerical summarization, we generally go with statistical measures to describe the data quantitatively. Now, under this, we are having several components. The first one of it is the measures of central tendency, of which we have mean, median, and mode. Now, mean is simply the arithmetic average of all the data points or data sets, of all the points in the data set. So, simply we can say it is the average of all the observations taken in the data set. So, in what way this mean is useful? This mean is useful for mathematical analysis, and also it is sensitive to extreme values. We can also know what is the highest, lowest, and also what is the average. Based on that, we can find out the average. Now, median. So, the median is the middle value when the data is arranged in a order. Again, we are having different formulae for median when it is odd number of data in the data set, or even number of data observations in the data set. So, which we are going to explore in the forthcoming sessions. Now, this median is best suited for skewed distributions. This is best suited for skewed distributions. And the last one, under measures of central tendency, we have the mode. Mode is that measure or statistical measure which we use it to find out the observation that occurs very frequently or most frequently. Usually useful for qualitative or categorical data. Generally used for qualitative or categorical data. Now, the second component or the second variety under numerical summarization is measures of dispersion. So, earlier we have gone through measures of central tendency, in which we have seen mean, median, and mode. Now, under measures of dispersion, we are having range, mean deviation, variance, standard deviation, and quotient of variation. Let's deep dive into this 5 components, 5 methods. So range is simply the difference between the highest observation and the lowest observation in the data set. So it is simply the difference between highest and the lowest values. Now mean deviation. So here it is telling mean deviation means it is simply the deviation from the mean. It is an average of absolute deviations from a central value. Now variance. Variance is the average of squared deviations from the mean. We are going to explore all these formulae and we are also going to do it in execute these things in the Excel in the forthcoming sessions. But as of now, let us have a general information about these. So variance describes about the average of squared deviations from the mean. Now standard deviation. The square root of the variance is the standard deviation and most widely or most popularly used for measures of dispersion. In most of the cases, whenever we are going to measure the dispersion, we generally use standard deviation. And the last one is quotient of variation, where we are going to measure the relative measure of dispersion. Suppose we want to compare the data sets, then we can go with the quotient of variation. So this is all about the second variety, that is measures of dispersion under numerical summarizations. Let's move forward. So the third one is measures of shape. So here we are going to describe the patterns of distribution. So under this criteria, we are having skewness and kurtosis. So what does the skewness indicate? Skewness indicates the distribution is symmetrical, or is it positively skewed or negatively skewed. So we are going to study the distribution. Is it symmetrical or is it towards the right side or towards the left side? So positively skewed or negatively skewed. Now kurtosis. Kurtosis indicates the peakness or the flatness of the distribution compared to the normal distribution. So how peaked it is from the data. Say for example, the normal distribution is something like this. And we want to know the peakness. Suppose we are having something data sets like this. So in order to find out the peakness or the flatness with respect to this data, we are going to use kurtosis. So these are the numerical summarization methods, or simply we call it as descriptive statistics, in order to summarize the data, where we have one is the measures of central tendency. Next, the second one is measures of dispersion. Third one is measures of shape. And now the fourth variety is statistical summaries. We generally use for business reports, research studies, etc. So what do we do in this case? So statistical summaries provide additional insight into data. Usually, whenever we want the data in the form of ratios, percentages for comparison, then we are going to use percentages and ratios for comparison. We do use index numbers to measure changes over time. So time to time or year to year, whenever we want to measure the changes that are occurring over a period of time, we use index numbers. And summary statistics using softwares like the basic one is Excel, SPSS and R programming are generally used to summarize the statistical data. Hence this data, the statistical summaries are widely used in business reports and as well as research studies. Now let us move forward with how do we use, means what are the applications. So far we have seen what is the concept of data, and we have seen what are the objectives of data summarization. The concept of data summarization we have seen, and objectives of data summarization we have seen, and we have also explored what are the different methods of summarizing the data. Now let us see where do we use this summarized data, in which applications, in what areas do we generally use this. So here, applications of data summarization in marketing area. So we generally use summarized data, or data summarization is used for customer segmentation and sales analysis, in order to view what is the sales that has taken place. So what is the segmentation, means customer segmentation, how it is taking place. In order to find out, we are generally going to use data summarization. and in the case of marketing field. Now, when it comes to finance, whether it is budgeting, whether it is variance analysis, or whether it is a performance review when compared to year, then also we are going to use the summarized data. And with respect to operations, data summarization is usually used for quality control purpose and also productivity measurement purpose. We use the summarized data. Next, in the case of HR, like whenever people use in the companies, they generally use the data to summarize, they use the summarized data for employee performance and also to know what is the attrition rate or what is the attrition analysis in any company. So in these 4 fields, the data summarization, or we use the summarized data for customer segmentation as well as sales report or sales analysis in the case of marketing, budgeting, variance analysis, and performance review when compared to year to year. In the case of finance, we are going to use summarized data. And in the operations region, that is operations part area, we are going to use the summarized data to identify the quality control, to know the quality control, and to also know the productivity measurement purpose. We are going to use it, the summarized data. And in the case of HR, we generally use the data summarized for employment performance and also attrition analysis. So these are the few applications where we can use the summarized data. Means whatever the raw data which we have collected in bulk, that we are going to summarize it, making use of all these methods. Whatever the method is convenient for the business purpose, we are going to use that and we are going to employ it. Means we are going to apply it for the business decision makings. Now, what we have learned, so what is the conclusion here is, so the data summarization is the fundamental step in statistical analysis. The basic thing here we are using, or any researchers or managers generally uses, to understand large data sets, identify what are the key patterns so that they can take better decisions or informed decisions in their businesses. And also, effective summarization ensures not only the data that is just collected, but it transforms into an actionable knowledge. So the large data sets, whatever we are going to collect, whenever we summarize, when we summarize it in an effective manner, that data can be transformed into actionable knowledge. So these are the things in today's session. Let us see the summary part. So in today's session, we have gone through the concept of data summarization, objectives of data summarization, methods of data summarization, in which we are having 4 varieties. One is the tabular method. The second one is diagrammatic and graphical representations, where we are seeing different kinds of graphs, charts, etc. And the numerical summarization, in which we are seeing a mean, median, mode, that is measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, and so on. And the last one is statistical summaries, where we are going to use it for business reports, etc. And also we have seen the applications of data summarization in business, like in HR, marketing, finance, and also in operations. So, thank you for this session. Stay tuned. We'll meet in the next session with some more exciting and interesting topics.